Coming up on this edition of Speed Chronicles, hello, Lando.
Zig Media presents
Speed Chronicles with Todd Lewis.
Powered by Rev TV.
Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking out this week's edition of Speed Chronicles. We do it every week here on the Rev TV YouTube channel and, of course, your favorite podcast platform as well. Thanks for all the likes and subscriptions. Keep it going. Please share on the social channels as well. We appreciate it. Okay, so let's dive right in as to what's happening in the motorsports world right now. Formula One, bang, 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 a bunch of races in quick succession, and we have a new leader in the championship standings. 4 rounds to go, and the new clubhouse leader is Lando Norris, who had just about everything go his way in Mexico. Maxed out points, didn't really have a big challenge, and just seems to have managed his way through the middle portion of the season. And now with 4 rounds to go, looks like he may be the one that is poised to take on the championship this time. That can change, but it looks right now like Lando Norris is the favored, if you will, in terms of the McLaren drivers to achieve the Drivers' Championship. I'm not quite ready to say it's a three-way battle yet. Max had a good race. He's still 36 points behind, though. And again, 4 rounds to go, so McLaren's got to have a lot of trouble before Max is going to be able to really be considered a serious threat and a serious challenge to the Drivers' Championship. It could happen, but I'm not quite there yet. It was disappointing for Oscar Piastri. He did fight back, gain a couple of positions after a real disappointing qualifying session, but it was enough that he lost the overall championship lead. Everybody's been talking about, the pressure is getting to him. The pressure's getting to him. Maybe more realistically, the development of the car and the way you drive the car has changed, and Lando has adapted a little better than Oscar has. At least that's what Oscar Piastri is saying. So maybe that's the real story. Let's talk about officiating in Formula One. What the hell? I find it puzzling. Lewis Hamilton got penalized 10 seconds. Max had 2 off-course excursions and didn't suffer any penalty. I would like an explanation as to what the reasoning was, maybe a little video evidence. There are other sports leagues that provide some explanation to officiating calls. Maybe we could get this in motorsports, and at least in Formula One, because I find that real puzzling, the reasoning as to how that happened. Also, I'm sure you may have seen the video of Liam Lawson coming around the corner to find 2 track marshals on the track collecting debris. What the hell? How does this happen in a top form of motorsports? There is no excuse for this. Somebody needs to be held accountable here. That was scary as hell. Track marshals out on the track with cars moving around. That's very poor form. And then, because we hadn't had enough drama, the virtual safety car that showed up with 2 laps to go, and then ending about a half a lap before the end of the race. What the hell? It was messy. It was sloppy. It looks like it was a hastily made decision. And I do believe it was influenced by this constant obsession with every race must end under green flag conditions. You can't manufacture that. It doesn't always work that way. Well, unless you're NASCAR and you keep extending the race until you do get a green, white checker finish. And it's ridiculous. I understand calling out a virtual safety car if the car was in a precarious position, if track workers were out on track and you needed to ensure their safety to retrieve that vehicle. I don't think it was handled well. Again, I don't know that it would have changed the overall championship in the sense that Verstappen was chasing Leclerc, Piastri was chasing Berman. Neither got past because the virtual safety car ended with maybe a half a lap left to go. If they both get by, then it doesn't really shake up the championship. But it was extremely messy and extremely poor the way that it was handled. How about Oliver Berman, though? Tremendous run to 4th position, super finish for Haas, and now the team's head to Brazil. Interesting times. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. NASCAR is headed to Phoenix for the final event of the season. I was actually driving south on the interstate through Tennessee early Monday morning, and the hauler for the number 5 car of Kyle Larson went by me and took the other turn to go west as I continued in a southerly direction. I would have snapped a photo or, tried to do a video, but, A, I was driving, and 2, I was using all my skills possible to stay on the road and not hydroplane because it was pouring rain out. Anyhow, teams are headed to Phoenix. Is there a favorite? I don't know. For all those that like the one race showdown or whatever you want to call it, enjoy it this weekend in Phoenix, because I do believe it's all but certain that is going to be changing for next year. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't think it's going to be a 36 race championship to the end, because that would be way too dramatic a change. But I do think that there will be changes next year. There were, of course, more filings in the NASCAR lawsuit this week, and things may be percolating in the direction of settlement now. Both parties submitted briefs, and there's stories about the background and the settlement might be possible. Apparently, one of the sticking points about an agreement, they negotiated for a couple of days last week, couldn't reach an agreement. Maybe it was close, maybe it wasn't. But one of the sticking points in the disagreement is who's paying the legal fees. Remember when I said it's going to be the lawyers that get rich on this? That's 100% happening right now. 100% that tens of millions of dollars are being spent on legal fees. That's how important this lawsuit is and how it plays out. No way does NASCAR want to be in a courtroom and laying their business on the table for everyone to have a look at. I've said all along, I believe it gets settled. But that's why it's been such a hard-fought process. That's how important it is. NASCAR lost a claim in summary judgment this week. So basically, when someone sues, as the teams did NASCAR here, quite often the plaintiff will countersue. It's like, oh yeah, you sued us, well, we're going to sue you. Well, the judge found in favor of the teams and ruled against NASCAR in that counterclaim. That's a motivator. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily going to go the way of the teams, but that's a motivator for NASCAR. Maybe it plays out quickly, maybe it doesn't. As mentioned, though, I do not believe this is going to go to trial. Because even if it goes to trial and gets ruled upon, inevitably it's going to be appealed. So it's going to carry on. Settlement is the best course forward. One bit of NASCAR Canada news. Riverside Speedway has just announced that their date for the 2026 schedule will be Saturday, June the 27th. Congratulations, Riverside, headed back there for NASCAR Canada. I'm not sure why they're the only ones announcing the date right now. If the rest of the schedule isn't done, then they shouldn't be announcing their date. I understand that Calabogie said that NASCAR is returning next year. That's fine. I can understand Riverside saying NASCAR is coming back next year. Okay. But it should be the sanctioning body that announces the schedule. I expect the 2 CTMP dates will be back. I expect GP3R will be back in their traditional dates. I do think that there's still a lot of maneuvering going on with some of the other dates, and that's what's holding things up right now. To close this week, congratulations to the 2025 class of inductees into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Congratulations to this large group this year. There were a lot of really good submissions for nomination and worthy candidates into the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. I have been on the board of directors for a few years now. I've been hosting the induction ceremony, and I look forward to doing that again next February as part of the Canadian International Auto Show and welcoming this new class to the Canadian Motorsport Hall of Fame. Great people who have contributed an awful lot to Canadian motorsport. So round of applause. Well done. And I appreciate all you've done, and congratulations on the recognition that you deserve. Okay, thanks for checking out this week's edition of Speed Chronicles. Enjoy an interesting weekend ahead of motorsports, as it always is. We'll do it again next Wednesday.